droning sounds and these demoniac howls. And he's basically describing a rave.
I love some Prodigy, man.
Yeah. Describing.
Suicide Commando. It's more than,
yeah.
not the rave, but like a harsh electro.
Hello and welcome to Drawn from Myth, episode 5. Drawn from Myth is a podcast where... is it a podcast?
I think so.
Maybe.
A videocast.
Videocast, yes, because it has a visual element.
Yeah.
It's a videocast. It's a show where I, Kim Diaz Holm, also called Den Unge Herr Holm, draw things from myth, while talking to my co-host...
Lukas, our stage walker, who is gonna ask you questions, annoy you, or help you. I'm an anthropologist of culture and a technician.
Yeah, and we're still figuring this stuff out, but in the last episode we did... I didn't figure out that I need water for drawing with ink, but I can take some of my drinking water because we're all professional here. In the last episode, we talked a little bit about H.P. Lovecraft, my love of Lovecraft, and your not so love of Lovecraft.
Let's call it a bit not straightforward relationship with. I love his stories, don't like his style. That's how we ended up.
Yeah, and it ended with me giving you a homework. Now, this show will not be just about Lovecraft, but Lovecraft has been one of the primary influences on me as an artist, and I've drawn a whole lot of Lovecraft, and Lovecraft sort of is a part of our modern mythology in a very real sense. So I thought that Lovecraft could be a good topic to come back to once in a while. So I gave you the homework, and I thought really hard about what's a good first story to read. What was a good introduction? Because you've read a little bit of Lovecraft a long time ago, and you hated it.
I didn't hate it, I just couldn't go through it. It was boring. That's the more like description of my relationship with this author and his work. It was boring.
So I thought, what's a short story that's reasonably, that isn't too flowery, doesn't have too much of the poetry, is kind of straightforward and an interesting story, and especially for you as a music lover and a lover of black metal. You're sitting with your Rotten Christ t-shirt. So I thought, let's do the music of Erich Zann, one of the most acknowledged and praised Lovecraft stories that everybody loves. And what did you think about the music of Erich Zann?
It was boring.
It was boring.
This one thing, the story itself, the plot, let's say, of the story was interesting. It wasn't like a typical horror story. It was a bit more, maybe not nuanced, but it has something in it. How it was described by Lovecraft, although it was boring. I had to force myself through 10 pages?
Yeah.
Or something like this. Yeah, I have a book here. So, I had to really force myself. Could be as well that our attention was stolen by social media, and it's harder and harder to be focused on reading the book. But since I have a history with this author and problems going through his stories, I think that more the problem is more with how he's writing for me than.
from your description, what is the music of Erich Zann about?
It's about a person who wants to protect himself from the horrors of the abyss, and the only protection he has is the music. He was playing the music. When I was reading it, what I understood, he was playing the music to protect himself, spoiler warning, from about over 100-year-old book.
1921 is the story from, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
To protect himself from the horrors of the abyss, which you can see from the window if you open the window.
Yeah. Okay. So what was so boring about it? What didn't you like?
How it was described. I needed to go through the words.
Yeah.
Like when I read horror, I'm used to the style of Anne Rice. That's what I'm used to.
Yeah. So,
and that's nothing of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Rice is very different.
Yes, totally different. It's not that I need to have every single horror story written like this, because I was reading Mary Shelley's as well, Frankenstein. It is
also very different.
Oh, very different. But I could go through it.
Both are more entertaining writers.
Yes.
But Lovecraft isn't trying to entertain.
No.
No.
You said something about it, by the way, and the music. You said that black metal is not particularly pretty, and it's noisy, and I still like it, because that noisiness and ugliness and dirt talks to me. The style of Lovecraft doesn't talk to me.
Yeah. So if I can go through the tale a little bit with you, and we'll try to figure out. So one of the reasons why I chose the music of Erich Zann is that Lovecraft himself liked the story because it was one of the ones where he didn't feel he was overly descriptive. So the descriptions are kept very, very low. There's not a lot of flowery language in the description.
Which I liked. Basic. Which I say, I definitely like that one more than other stories I read from him.
Yeah. But the descriptions are still important because it's in the descriptions that you find what he's trying to get you to imagine. And you said that it's a story about Erich Zann, who protects himself from the void with his music, which is sort of jumping to the end of it in a sense. You could also say that it's a story about someone who's studying metaphysics, who hears the music of Erich Zann.
And is very interested.
And is sort of put under the spell of that music and has to know where it comes from, and then it leads to the abyss. Or I would say that this tale, written in 1921 by someone who didn't really like music. Lovecraft never understood music. He could like a good marching band once in a while, but music was alien to him. It didn't speak to him. But what this tale is not about the music of Erich Zann, but about that low, droning, not a melody, single note that he hears from the abyss. This is a tale from 1921 about essentially cosmic drone music.
Sun-O?
Yeah, it's about Sun-O. Okay, but Sun-O made by the terrifying cosmos itself.
Oh, yeah.
And but it starts with some very typical Lovecraft images. And the first one is starts with the fact that the narrator has never found the neighborhood of Rue, or the street of Rue de Sale. again, even though he has searched many maps. And this is something that Lovecraft does again and again. He uses so much time to say to the reader that, yeah, I know that this is a dream, I know that this is a nightmare, but it's real. It was totally real. I can't find it on maps, but it's real. You have to accept that this is real. And the first thing you have to accept that is real is the image of the neighborhood itself, which isn't a normal neighborhood.
No.
It has this weird river that has evil stenches. How are stenches evil?
Yeah.
They just are.
This is one of the things I really don't like. It's like when I read it, it's like, why I need to have a description of something when I cannot make my own mind about it, if it's evil or not. I got already the word which is describing the thing, which is the river. It's evil. Why?
No. The stench of the river.
The stench of the
evil.
What I mean.
And what does it mean for a stench to be evil?
Why is this there?
It is there for a reason.
Yeah, I think so, but for me the reason is very bad. Why you use that word?
Yeah, but he doesn't use it necessarily about things that you think should be evil, but he uses it about the stench. And at the same time, it has this black or this very dark bridge, and it has these brick factories, like you can see in the old factory neighborhoods of Bergen.
Yeah.
And it has this steep hill, and it's almost too steep. And one of the interesting images that you find again and again in Lovecraft is that up is down and down is up. So in a normal neighborhood, you'd think that the higher you get, the lighter it is. But with the clouds from the factories, the higher you get, the darker it gets. So it's sort of an inverted neighborhood. And you have to start picturing this strange inverted neighborhood that's dark at the bottom, but even darker at the top. And at the very top of this impossible street, there is this impossible house with 5 stories, and it's close to this ivied wall. And I don't know what Lovecraft's obsession with ivied walls are, but they pop up again and again in stories that were based on his dreams. I don't know if we have any confirmation that music of Erich Zann was based directly on a dream. I should have researched that, but I didn't find all my old Lovecraft scholarly papers.
But you didn't study metaphysics like our student here, right?
No, but at the top of this strange neighborhood is this impossible wall, and over this impossible wall is just one window. There's just one window in this very tall house on the top of more of a cliff than a hill, and only one window can look.
Which is by the way, closed, huh?
Yeah. And that is, of course, the window of the musician Erich Zann. But the narrator doesn't know that at the beginning. He just moves in. He doesn't remember how he moved in or why or anything, because, again, this is dream logic.
Yeah.
And one thing to notice is that Lovecraft describes the look of things, he describes the feeling of things, he describes the stench of things. One thing he doesn't describe anywhere is sound. There is no sound in the story except
the music.
The music. There are references to conversation he has with his landlord, but they are always kind of vague references. But Erich Zann himself is dumb. He can't speak. So there's no...
He only writes.
He only writes, and he takes these absurd pauses to write things in the middle of the kind of intense scenes. So first, he moves in one floor below Erich Zann, and he starts hearing this music.
Which he doesn't understand because
He doesn't know a lot about art. He doesn't know a lot about music, but he can't imagine that anyone produces music like this. There are harmonies. It's not ugly. It's not random, but there are harmonies that are not of this world, that are besides any harmony that he has heard. So basically, at this point, he is describing a lot of contemporary classical music, like 30 years before that style. He's describing something that is a lot more progressive musically than the most modernist, most progressive classical writers, contemporary writers of his time.
Yeah.
Which he, to be fair, didn't know because he didn't like music, but he's imagining this music. And this is where it starts getting nutty, because this music isn't the point of the story. And you sort of had it in the beginning, that this is the music that Erich Zann plays
For
to
me,
ward off something.
Yeah.
So after a while, the narrator manages to get an audience with Erich Zann, and he plays for him, but he won't play
that particular note.
particular piece.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and in this tale, Lovecraft uses very little time to describe the things, but as Lovecraft always does, he goes back to the character trying to rationalize things, to trying to say that this was real. And again, and you'll find this in every Lovecraft story, again and again, the character tries to rationalize to itself, this is real. Because this is how Lovecraft thought. Yeah. He was a reasonable man in his worldview. Now, there were a lot of unreasonable points to his worldview.
Yes,
we talked about a few of them last time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is shockingly one of the few Lovecraft stories without any signs of racism, except maybe against Germans. But
Erich Zann.
Yeah, and but he believed in reason, in logic, in science.
Yeah, but
so therefore his characters always try to say that no, this is real. I can't shake the conviction that this is real. So you just have to accept that part. Okay?
I just figure out where I have a problem with that particular, maybe general with Lovecraft, but that particular story. Mm-hmm. Like, now I just realize I have a book which I read years ago, and I go back to it on and off, which is a German book from the 80s, from Patrick Süskind, Das Parfüm. It starts with a description of how Paris stinks. Mm-hmm. And it was a long description of all the things you can smell, all the smells of Paris before our murderer was born, and then when he was born. And it was very, very interesting for me. Yeah. And then I have this story which is describing me with adjectives which I don't need. How everything, how the setup of the story.
Yeah,
That what I mean is like why I just can't go through his style. His style
Yeah,
is too descriptive.
but he's not really describing a lot here.
No, but still it's too descriptive.
Yeah.
When I can go for like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of description of how Paris thinks
Yeah.
and not be bored. And I started reading
Yeah,
this and I'm like, oh no, I need to go, oh no.
But the thing is, again, that all these descriptions of the strange inverted neighborhood, and of course of Erich Zann's room, which is the single locale that is most detailed described. It's the only sort of physical place that's described in the story. These are all secondary to the thing that Lovecraft can't describe, but he's trying to get you to feel. Okay, the first session with Erich Zann and the narrator ends with the narrator trying to ask him to play some of the weird music, and he tries to whistle it to him, and Erich Zann becomes frightened,
Yes.
and also looks towards the window with the drapes over.
Yeah.
And also the narrator feels a compulsion, and this is why Lovecraft uses these words. You can say that it's he has a curious urge, I think, or curious want to open the window. And the reason it's curious is that all the feelings in this is curious. He is in a curious state.
Yes.
There is nothing there that can't be curious, that can be uncurious. Everything is curious, so his need to open the window is curious. That's just how it is.
I see another thing. There are no dialogues in
No
that
dialogue.
story, which I hate.
But
Why? It's like the whole story is a long description of what is happening in this our narrator had.
But what would
encounters.
dialogue?
I don't know. I
We're
felt
talking.
very not.
We're talking right now.
Yeah.
What is our form of communication? It's through sound.
Yeah.
And there is no sound in the story. There can't be any sound in this story except
The music.
the music and the thing that the music is trying to play over. So that's the whole...
So Lovecraft tried to use words on the book
Oh, yeah.
to not make any, to put no dialogues in the story. And
There
just
are,
do one thing which cannot be reproduced on paper, sound.
Oh, yeah. But everything about Lovecraft is trying to describe things that are impossible to describe. That's everything he does. There are the earlier tales where he isn't quite aware that this is what he's trying to do. There are some dream tales, there are some more aesthetic tales. He did some humor things that no one wants to read. He did a lot of different stuff, but in the Lovecraftian stories, it's always trying to describe things that not only can't be described with words, but actually can't be thought with thoughts. That's what he's obsessed about.
So he's doing this for me very poorly. Because I really cannot read through it. I may try again something else if you give me something else to read, because I have many books now to I'm going off social media. So I can go back to some reading if you have anything to...
Let's finish
Okay.
Erich Zann first. When the narrator tries to open the curtain, Erich Zann tosses him out, and he writes a little explanation why. This is a very strange form of communication because this isn't a space where you're communicating like we are. You can think of this Erich Zann writing as sort of the telepathy of a dream, that there is a transmission of knowledge somehow, but it's impossible to say quite how it happens. Weeks go by, the narrator moves 2 floors down, so he can't hear the music anymore, but he starts listening in and
wants to listen, wants to hear that one thing.
He wants to hear his music, and so he starts sneaking up the stairs. He's standing outside, but he can't quite get the full experience listening to the door. Erich Zann becomes more and more haggard and less friendly, and the music also becomes more and more violent and also unpleasant. The music in the beginning was pleasant, but towards the end it's very unpleasant. There is one time where it becomes so ecstatic that he hears the only human sound in the whole story, which is a scream that only a dumb person can make. And try to imagine this strange, you have to have the image of this strange neighborhood where things get darker towards the top, and this strange house with this strange one eye in the top. That's the only window that's of any importance. And then this strange room with no furniture, nothing, there's no place to make food, there's nothing, there's cobwebs, there's 3 chairs, there's 2 candles, there's a lot of notes.
Everything is eerie about it.
Yeah, this isn't a living space. It's covered with dust and cobwebs, but no tracks of Erich Zann moving around or anything. So there's a dead space. And then there's the curtains hiding the window. And we'll start drawing the curtains right now. Or maybe the window. Let's see, I don't know.
Yeah, I see, I know.
So he hears this scream that only a dumb person can make, a mute person can make, which is a sound you have to try to imagine. And it's not a pleasant sound. But that night, nothing more happens. The sounds die down. He can hear Erich Zann falling off a chair and closing the window and things like that. And he comes out to explain, and then he gets invited back for a final night. And that final night, Erich Zann sits down to write a full explanation in German, because his French is too poor.
Mm-hmm.
And he then, I don't remember, does he look towards the window and hear something, and then he starts playing his music?
Maybe,
Yeah.
I can check that.
And the narrator also hears this single, low, impossibly low musical note that comes from impossibly far away. And Erich Zann starts playing, and this time he's playing for the first time something that the narrator can recognize. He's playing it in a garbled fashion, but he's playing a Bulgarian folk tune of some sort, but he's playing it more and more intensely. And there are some lovely descriptions in the story here and there about how the narrators sometimes hear that it's almost as if the sounds of Erich Zann's viol, which I just learned isn't the same as a violin. I've always drawn Erich Zann with a violin before, but this is with a sitting viol di gamba or something like that. So I don't know if this is correct.
Yeah, viola da gamba.
Viola da gamba, yeah. And every so often, the narrative describes that the vibrations of this sort of hits with something else, and it becomes like a symphony. It is sound waves that mesh together and create something
Unearthly.
unearthly. And I keep thinking about going to a Maritzbau concert in 1998 and hearing this wall of noise. And Maritzbau, Japanese noise
I know
artist,
it's Maritzbau. Yeah.
noise legend, one of the originators of Japanese noise music. And he had been arguing with Kvarteret, the venue in Bergen, because he wanted to play at volume that wasn't allowed in Norway. And I remember just sitting there and listening to this wall of sound, and sometimes these impossibly low bass tones just came warbling out, and it sort of almost shifted the air. The music shifted the air. This is every part of your body just with the sound, and this is something like what Lovecraft is trying to describe there, but as someone who didn't like music in 1921. So Erich Zann's music playing gets more and more violent, and it interacts with something. It's trying to override something. And then the wind starts howling, and these impossible winds again starts basically picking up everything that Zann had wrote in German, this whole explanation, and just they fly out the window. Convenient. But this is, we're in dream logic now. And the narrator runs after them to catch whatever Erich Zann had wrote before it disappears out the window. But he can't. And then he peeks out the window, and where he thinks that I should probably see the city and the city lights and
the wall
and all of that, but he doesn't.
No.
He just sees the blackness of the void dancing. He sees a kaleidoscope of total darkness. The darkness that is totally black, but is moving, is dancing. And it's from this void that the sound Erich Zann is trying to cover.
You have the void over there.
Yeah, I have the void over here. And yeah, so as he looks out, the wind finally blows out the two candles in the room, and they're in pitch black. But this pitch black is different from the pitch black of the void. And he can't see anything, but he fumbles his way to Erich Zann and tries to grab him, But then as he feels his ear first and then his face, he notices Erich Zann is dead, but still playing. And then he tumbles out and almost like floats down the stairs. And it's sort of, there is a reason why Lovecraft uses the language he does in that exact part, which is I don't remember, is it the character runs or floats, or he uses 3 words for how he gets down and out of the house.
Leaping, floating, flying.
Yeah, leaping, floating, flying.
Down these endless stairs through the dark halls.
So the character is sort of going down the stairs with movements you usually go up things. So it's sort of like floating up to the surface of water, but floating down. Again, this is the reversal of space that happens in the Lovecraft story.
Flying down.
Yeah, flying down.
But with flying, you think you're gonna fly because you need to
flying,
elevate
floating,
yourself.
leaping, all generally up movements, but that's how he gets down, and then he runs out in the city and over the bridge, and suddenly everything is normal.
Yeah. And Rue de Asil?
Is gone, and he can never find Rue de Sale again, and there's no wind, all the lights are on, everything is exactly how it was. And that's the story. And what I think is fascinating with it is, again, you have to imagine these things. You can't expect Lovecraft to describe a scent to you over 4 pages.
Yeah, I know.
In a way that is easily understandable, because what he's trying to do with these images is to give just enough that you can fill them in with your visual memories, with your nose memories, your smelling memories, your feeling memories. That's why it's an evil stench, because that's what's your evil stench. That was a very personal question.
I don't know, because I don't describe stench as an evil. It's just bad or not.
Yeah, but if you ever come across a stench that attacked you with malicious intent, like you feel like, oh, fuck you, stench. Like, why are you doing this to me?
So it's it's like giving a person, like it's being a person. It's described with a human or like some kind of intentions.
Yeah, so he's not really saying that a stench is evil, I don't think, because that he didn't really believe in good and evil. He's saying that the stench to the character appeared evil. The character, which is you in the story, the reader.
But then it's personification of something which doesn't have any personhood.
Yeah, and it's all done from this worldview where the personification of things is impossible. The world isn't personified. It's not done from a religious point of view. It is saying that the character, that you as the reader, it feels evil to you.
So this is the dreamlike.
Yeah, this is the dreamlike. In a nightmare, you don't really smell, but you can still know that it smelled evil.
Okay.
Okay, yeah? And he's trying to describe this impossibly progressive music that Erich Zann is playing. And he actually uses a few words that are, he is, in some sense, and he goes back to this a lot in a lot of other stories, he describes something that seems like contemporary music today. Not contemporary pop music, but seems like noise, like drone, like today's noise and drone. He has another magnificent description in a very racist piece called He, where he sort of describes a future New York where everyone dances around to these repetitive beats and these droning sounds and these demoniac howls. And he's basically describing a rave.
I love some Prodigy, man.
Yeah. Smack my bitch up, move my pitch up, as the poet said.
Okay.
I don't think that's not quite, but more maybe something like Surgeon or Kari Lekebusch or Plastic Man or something. Is the doom, 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 something like that is describing.
Suicide Commando. It's more than, not the rave, but like a harsh electro.
Something like that. And he has no idea of these things, but he's describing them. And all of this weird music, all the ecstatic music, the final Bulgarian piece, it's all just to cover over that one note. And that note is the drone of an evil sentient cosmos. It's a drone that he gets back to in a lot of other stories, often when describing Azathoth, the nuclear chaos at the center of the universe. And this doesn't mean that this is in any way connected to his mythos or to Azathoth or anything like that. It is just everything in Lovecraft is connected to these undescribable images, and I'll call them images, even though they can be a feeling or a sound or a sight or anything. These impossibilities that Lovecraft got some snippet of in his dreams and nightmares, and in his, at times, ecstatic appreciation of existence. This is sublime, but it's more than sublime. It's beyond sublime.
So you're telling
that's, and there are stories where Lovecraft uses dialogue.
They are.
I'd argue that he has a lot of fun with dialogue, and he can even be weirdly good with dialogue. That's why I adapted Pickman's model, because that has, the whole story is one side of a dialogue, and just by putting it in comic book speech bubbles, I could show how expertly Lovecraft wrote his dialogue without changing anything.
You know what he didn't do in that one? You didn't describe things because you painted them.
Yeah, but
you show them instead of telling them.
Yeah, but anything important in that story, I didn't paint. That's why the art becomes more and more diffuse in the story.
But your interpretation of Pigman model, for me, was better than that original.
Yeah, that's how wrong you can be.
That's just your opinion, man.
That's just your opinion, man.
Although now, so you're telling me that I should just start to read them, put some swan, Smertsbow, and I don't know, mix it with Nebelhexe and just go.
Yeah, and think that the most extreme, weird, off-putting Sono or swans or whatever contemporary music you would like, the most off-putting, the most vile of that is still only barely enough to fade out that single monotone cosmic drone that is the horror of the story. That single note is everything that Lovecraft is trying to get you to imagine in that story. And he doesn't really describe it, because if he were to describe it, if he were to say, point at this, as he does in some stories, then that would fail. But, it did fail you no matter what.
Oh, yeah, it did. Yeah. But let me see if I can put some more time and effort to read some of these stories. I have some of them right here. What you doing there? Are you already done?
I am painting the dead.
Erich Zann.
Erich Zann.
Erich Zann.
Still playing music as the papers fly out the window, and I want to give him two dead eyes, because that's one of the fascinating things that I like in the story is there's no light in the end, it's all black, and there's the blackness outside that is an impossible blackness, and then there's the blackness inside that is due to the light going out, and the character can't see, but still sees the bulging eyes of the dead Erich Zann. Again, this is dream logic. And this is one of the best versions of Lovecraft's dream logic, I think, this tale. But in later tales, he will, I need less of the eyes here, he will try more and more to fuse that dream logic with what he called a realistic language, and with psychological realism, which the music of Erich Zann has nothing of that. It's not psychologically meant to be real, even though the narrator says, this is real, this is real, this is real, again and again. But later Lovecraft will try to describe all these things in a more of a sci-fi setting, with scientific realism, with emotional realism. But in this one, he's in the dream world. It's in the nightmare, in a very concrete way.
There's one story I read from, I think it was the first ever story I read from Lovecraft. Yeah. It was about the rats in the...
Rats in the wall.
Yes, and I liked it actually.
Yeah, that's one of his more, let's say, Edgar Allan Poe-like stories.
Maybe that's why I liked him, because I really like my Poe.
Yeah.
Edgar.
So now, what should we have you read next?
You know what? I have
needs
this already
to be
here.
From that book, I guess.
No, because I have more of them. But I can go again to Pickman's model and check against your comic book. And I have some classics like the Dunwich Horror here.
Not the Dunwich Horror, and this
No.
is one of the problems with Lovecraft. I have reason to believe that Lovecraft wrote the Dunwich Horror as sort of halfway as a parody of himself,
Okay.
putting everything that he believed editors wanted in his stories. So that has almost action, it has almost sex, it has almost characters interacting with each other. God forbid. And personally, I think
Shadow over Innsmouth.
Shadow over Innsmouth is his most entertaining story, perhaps.
Maybe
it
I'm
has
gonna-
dialogue, it has action. It's not a parody. But I'm thinking maybe we should do another short one first, or do you want to jump into Shadow over Innsmouth?
I can do Shadow over Innsmouth, and we can do a one episode of it. I don't know if this in this season or in next one, but we can totally do it.
Yeah.
And I'm
So,
gonna play some Arkham Horror board game I have at home
yeah.
to go into the proper vibes.
Yeah, and that is also a mistake, because no game has had the proper vibes.
I don't care. They were vibing with me more than the books. That's the thing.
Yes, yeah, but something that's closer to the proper vibes is something like Sun O, the band.
Okay.
That is closer
Which
to
I
what.
don't like music of.
Yeah. Do you have any weird droning music you like?
Yes, there is. That's
The
a funeral.
Bogs of,
no, funeral doom band, and now I forgot the name of it. But let me double check. I think the first ever album I heard from them was album with one song only, and that song had over 80 minutes, and it was really droning like a death doom, funeral doom band. And let me double check.
Yeah. So something like that is more.
Bellwitch.
Yeah.
Bellwitch.
Bellwitch.
Yeah, and the album is Mirror Reaper from 2017. This was an album with just one song, and this song is that's really like yeah. And there is another band which has a soundscape, which I could say it's going towards noise, although it's not. It's THAW, THAW, which is from, I think, Louisiana. Don't quote me on that, but
That sounds right. Yeah.
yeah, and it's really awesome. This is like more than black metal. I like my death doom and really like this kind of music. So there you go.
Yeah. I would, if Lovecraft was metal, he wouldn't be the metal with chorus, with refrains and sing-along. No Amon Amarth, no rowing Vikings, nothing like that. It would be those strange drone bands that fill the room with rotting meat and
Everything what O'Malley is doing with Sano and all the other bands he did, right?
yeah, something like that. And that's the vibe, the closest vibe. But again, Lovecraft is always trying to describe something that's even outside of that vibe, something that is impossible.
Yeah.
So that's why the music that is described is the music of Erich Zann, while the music that's the point of the story is the music that never gets described, except this is low,
Drone.
single tone, musical note. That's it. That's why I love
You love it very much because
music
this
of
should be a
Erich Zann.
short episode, and we definitely over 50 minutes now.
Yeah, that's a short episode. If you like this and you want more, then please do subscribe and also go to my website, ungeherholm.com, where these art pieces will be put out. This is one of my top 5 pieces of Erich Zann that I've ever done.
All right.
I don't know if I've done 5. I've done 5.
If you can as well comment, maybe you have some ideas what we can talk about, and we will see and discuss.
Yeah.
Because we have a whole list, but always there is something there which can be better than we already think, because we don't know everything, and maybe you have something which gonna be more interesting than we just figure out, right?
Yeah. So thank you for watching this, and we'll be back soon with something not Lovecraft.
No, totally different.
Maybe something that's not boring.
Forget about it.
Boring. Lovecraft isn't boring. Don't tell Lukas.
No, don't. So, see you around, and thank you very much for watching.